Today, I want to share a few great features of Affinity Photo. I will not try to compare Affinity Photo to Adobe Photoshop. I will only show why I think it is a great value and a very powerful tool at a very reasonable price. All I will mention is that I still pay for an Adobe license just in case I need it for some features, but so far after about a year, I have not needed to rely on any Adobe photo tools. Affinity Photo can be purchased from affinity.serif.com. The cost for Affinity Photo at the time of this video is about $50 for a lifetime license. Affinity can run in Mac, Windows, or iPad. Affinity Photo is part of a trilogy of tools which includes Photo, Designer, and Publisher, all for about $50 each for a lifetime license. In addition, the three tools play very well with each other. So let's get started by dragging a picture into Affinity Photo. Affinity Photo uses the concept of personas. Personas are different types of user interfaces that depend upon the specific photography tasks we want to perform, and I'll include them in this applications tour. Persona choices are located on the top left of the interface and include Liquify persona for nonlinear photo stretching, Develop persona for handling raw processing, Tone mapping persona for high dynamic range processing, and Export persona for exporting images from Affinity format into most common image file formats. The default persona is a photo persona, where most of the editing features reside. On the left, we have editing tools. On the top right, we have panels such as histogram, scope view, color selection, swatches, and brushes. On the middle right, we have additional panels such as the layers panel used to manipulate and arrange layers as in many other photo applications. We have adjustment and effect panels as well. We also have the metadata panel, which presents EXIF information such as exposure, size, aperture, ISO, focal length, and so forth. On the bottom right, we have other panels including the navigator panel, the transform panel, the history panel, the channels panel, and the information panel. I'll provide more detail and context in future videos. As a standalone application, Affinity Photo supports panoramas, stack, HDR merging, focus merging, which is also known as focus stacking, and batch jobs. In addition, Affinity Photo works with most popular Photoshop plugins, and I have personally successfully used nearly all modules of the following plugins: Filter Forge, Focus Magic, Neat Image, Neat Collection, Topaz Labs, Topaz Studio, and ePaper Press. I'll start by demoing the Liquify persona by activating it on the top left side of the screen. When we zoom in, you can see a mesh on top of the image, and you can see the Liquify controls on either side of the screen. The Liquify tools can be used to make modifications by dragging and rearranging the image on the canvas as if it were similar to a stretchy piece of cloth. I'll zoom into the middle window in the picture and use it to liquify or move the curtains to one side. I won't do it too carefully or accurately for this demo. When done, I press the Apply button and the image is ready for additional edits, back in the Edit persona. Next, I'll demo the Panorama built-in feature. To activate it, open the New Panorama dialog, click on Add, and select from a directory pictures intended to create a panorama. For this example, I will bring 80 pictures from a single directory. Then click on Stitch Panorama, and I will pause until it completes the first phase of the panorama, which, depending on the number of files, might take from a few seconds to a few minutes. Affinity then presents its intent for a panorama. Press OK. The dialog disappears, and after a few moments, it shows the progress as it renders the panorama in multiple passes. I will again pause since this process might take a few minutes for my input of 80 pictures. When complete, you can make adjustments if needed by clicking on the arrow icon and selecting a specific component. Once we're satisfied, we can hit Apply at the top left, and the image is moved to the Edit persona where it can be edited as a whole. Next, I'd like to demo the built-in stacking feature. For this demo, I will use several pictures from a similar vantage point. Notice that these 5 pictures were taken without a tripod, so there are perspective variations that Affinity Photo will take care of. So let's try it. First, select New Stack. Then click on Live Alignment followed by Add, and I will select the 5 pictures that I previously showed you. Then click OK, and we will give time for the tool to do the alignment. When completed, we can see the result of the alignment as the top layer. When we expand the layers, we can see the 5 pictures in the stack and a math channel above. The math channel shows mean, median, outlier, maximum, minimum, range, mid-range, and total. In addition, it shows additional statistical parameters, specifically statistical moments, all in a pixel by pixel basis. Notice that each layer has an added perspective light filter to allow for corrections if needed. Stacking is a wonderful tool for removing unwanted elements that only show in a few frames, such as people walking by, or averaging the image to reduce noise content. I'll continue with demoing the built-in HDR feature in Affinity. HDR is a technique that allows the merging of multiple images taken from the same vantage point and distance but at different exposure levels into one high dynamic range image. Notice that for this most exposed picture, you can see the dark fresco here, but the lights are overly saturated. In the meantime, for the least exposed image, you cannot see the ceiling or fresco, but the lights are not saturated. We load the files into Affinity's built-in HDR merge. Select Automatically Remove Ghosts, which is a possible artifact of HDR merging. And select Add. I will pick the 3 images by clicking Open. Then click OK. After Affinity processes the HDR, it then presents us some presets on the left while leaving the user to fine-tune and make their own adjustments using the controls on the right. Make a selection from the column on the left. After the preset selection, you can make further adjustments on the right, and when done, press Apply to accept the settings. The image is now ready for editing in the Edit persona. Notice that the result of the HDR produced image is an image where the ceiling and fresco are visible, while simultaneously having lights visible but not saturated. I'll now continue with a demo of the built-in focus stacking feature. Focus stacking is a technique particularly useful for macro photography where focusing and depth of field present unique challenges. The technique allows you to merge multiple images taking at different focus points of the same subject into a well-focused image. I will use these images for the example. In them, you can see that the focus ranges from the front detail being well focused while the back details are out of focus, gradually changing in the series until we get to the last images where the front is out of focus while the back details are now in focus. Let's try it. We activate New Focus Merge, then we click Add and select all the pictures that we want to merge into a single focus merge view. I'm selecting the images I had shown you. Then I click Open, followed by OK. Affinity Photo will now focus merge the images into a single image using built-in internal algorithms to align and process the focus. When complete, the image is presented in the Edit persona ready for editing. Notice how the front and back of the image are now in focus. Affinity can process raw images. Raw images are images that are not processed by the image processor in your camera, but are rather allowed to be processed by your software application, giving you more control and flexibility to correct and improve on the image taken. As an example, I will bring a raw image into the application. Automatically, the raw format is detected and the develop persona is activated. The interface in the develop persona is designed and optimized to process or develop raw images. The develop persona also allows us to a great degree for the processing of non-raw images. Aside from the advantages of a larger dynamic range used in the raw images, the application has a built-in database of cameras and lenses that allow for camera and lens distortion. This allows for the correction of several known distortions based on the camera-lens combination. The camera, lens, and settings information is obtained from the metadata in the photographs. As an example, I'm going to toggle the lens profile option to deactivate the lens correction. The most important perceptible correction is the fact that straight lines that were curved due to lens imperfections are straightened to a great degree using this built-in feature. Once the image is ready, we can hit the develop button and the image is processed, and the application takes us back to the edit persona. And this, my friends, was my 2 cents on why Affinity Photo is a great tool at a great price. I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe and share.